And before we get into the trial itself, I'd like to ask, start with you, Jim. Can you tell us about how motions in limine have an impact on the trial itself?
Do you want me to tell you how I really feel?
Yes.
I think for the most part they're a complete waste of time, with an exception of a handful that have to be decided. And we see the same ones over and over and over again. And some of our judges, particularly Justice Friedman, has started dealing with them in a different way, and so is Justice Smith, who was here earlier. She's gone, Erin?
She left me here.
Okay. That has helped to accelerate the motion and eliminate the whole process. And maybe Justice Friedman can tell us what she does in order to short circuit the filing of motions that have been decided over and over again.
I think I learned in my first trial, when I had a stack of motions in limine like this, that most of them were concerning matters that could easily have been raised at trial. For example, the defendants would move in limine to preclude the plaintiffs from referring to a company as an asbestos company or a member of the asbestos industry and that kind of thing. Things that could very easily have been resolved without a written motion. So after doing a couple of these stacks of written motions in limine, I instituted a procedure in which anyone who wanted to make a motion in limine would give me a one-page letter listing in bullet points or sentence fragments, essentially, the areas on which they wanted to move in limine. And I look at those letters in advance of the trial, and then I make a ruling on whether I will allow a written motion or not. And it has essentially eliminated written motions in limine. I think I authorized one recently on a sort of a Fry issue, a new fill-up on it. But aside from that, I haven't had any motions in limine in several years.
Your Honor, then how do you make sure that the defendant has the opportunity to preserve its record if you're not going to entertain a written motion?
Well, the defendant can have the letter marked, and at the trial can make the oral application for any in limine rulings that the defendant initially requested to make in writing. But since 98 or 99% of these cases are settling in any event, we don't even have oral motions in limine.
Can the rest of the panel, does the rest of the panel have ideas about how we can short circuit this?
I've done a little different way than this judge. I'm sorry, Judge Friedman. I had the similar experience you had with many trials with piles of motions in limine this tall, and I made the comment, I'm not trying this case by motion in limine. So I first send both sides out and say, you go through those motions in limine and you figure out the ones you all agree upon, that we all know, you can't mention insurance and so on. Then they come back with those. I say, whatever you have left, let's take a quick look at them. And I'm going to tell you real quickly, as I look at it, if it looks like something that should be done during trial, I'm going to suggest to you, we're not going to entertain this motion in limine, or I'm just going to deny them when it comes to that point in the trial with this witness, because they're usually trying to exclude some testimony of some witness. You raise it again, we'll give the jury a recess, we'll voir dire the witness on these points, and I'll make a determination as to whether or not it's admissible. But I'm not doing it. I'm not doing all this before trial.
And hopefully the witness, you don't even get far enough in the trial where the witness takes the stand.
I have rarely had to do more than 2 of those.
As far as the case management is concerned, first of all, I think there are some pretrial matters that could take care of the problem arising in case management and motions in limine, and that is to, in a pretrial motion or order, to require that there only be one motion in limine per subject, so we don't have multiple motions in limine by numerous defendants dealing with the same issue. And then requiring the parties to meet and confer, which is mandated by the California Rules of Court in any event, before the filing of a motion in limine. As far as the motion in limine are concerned in themselves, I think most judges have now gotten to the point where they recognize that it's a total waste of time to deal with 150 motions in limine. So there's a question of credibility of the whole process of filing all these motions in limine. And I think most judges have taken the position and asking the parties, give me your 2 or 3 best shots that you think are the important issues. We'll deal with it. And all the other matters, if you think it's important enough, raise an objection during the course of the trial.
The only thing I'd add to that is I treat, they have to meet and confer. I make people meet and confer in person, which adds a certain degree of pain to it. No electronic interface. And I usually ask if there's a case dispositive kind of motion in here, you know, that's going to make your carrier or your plaintiff make a different decision, then we'll hear it ahead of time. Otherwise, I'm not going to spend any time on jury time. If you really want to hear them, we'll start at 6.
In the morning.
One of the most,
Either way, 6 at night to 6 in the morning, I'm available.
I think one of the most important things is the lawyers getting to know you. So maybe the first couple times, for example, I was to try my first FENFIN case and my first Paxil case. They didn't know me and I didn't know them a whole lot, and I got like 40 motions in limine. And after I zipped through, there was like head shaking, and I know the next one that I get, I'm probably going to get 5, because I told them these are the only ones that are issues. The rest of them are trial rulings, and I'll make them at trial. And I wrote, you know, denied without prejudice be raised at trial.